Welcome everybody to this Vitality Reset series, our web class. Today we're doing 3 keys to embrace menopause naturally. And I thought it would be fun to start to actually eavesdrop on a conversation. So here we go. I'm just feeling off balance lately. Some days I'm exhausted and others I'm awake all night. That sounds like me. I can't sleep and my mood has been all over the place too. I've been trying different things, but it's hard to know what will actually help me feel more like myself. I can't believe how much my body is changing and it feels like it's out of my control. So I'm interested if any of those things that resonated with any of you, please put it in the chat. I've got the chat down here, that's probably looking down. Put it in the chat if that resonated with you. Maybe you have said these things or you've heard these things being said. So yeah, I'm interested to know if these things resonate, and if they do, what's the thing that really stands out to you in these conversations? So what really, the last one I've heard from people, yes. Okay, so the last one, I can't believe how much my body is changing and it feels like it's out of my control. And honestly, the things that really struck to me was the out of control and I don't feel like myself anymore. Those two things really, they hurt at a deep level. And so, stop the share for a minute. So today, I wanted to talk to you about, just 1 second, I'm just gonna, I wanted to talk to you about about menopause. And I'm gonna say menopause, but actually menopause is a point in time. And really the symptoms are around menopause before and after, and it's called perimenopause. But for ease, we're gonna just talk about menopause. So I'm Maud Mates-Dennis, and I am a doctor. But I want to make it very clear from the outset that I don't have clinical expertise in menopause. I've never treated anyone with menopause. I'm a children's doctor. It isn't in my wheelhouse. But what I do have skill and expertise in is evidence-based practice, which means I'm able to navigate the literature, find answers, look at papers, be able to very quickly decide, is it a valid paper? What are the results? What do the results mean? And what can I take out of it? What's actually useful? And yes, everyone can search through the literature and see what's out there, but there's so much that having a skill at doing it is helpful. So hopefully this is what I'm going to be able to provide here and when I'm looking for natural solutions. So it is about natural solutions, but I do need to address that hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, there's a huge evidence base for its benefit in relieving symptoms of menopause. I'm not going to be speaking about it, but I don't want anybody here to think that I've got to, I'm against it per se. So, please, if that's something for you, you've got to, you have your doctor to talk to about it. But some women choose not to take HRT. I was one of those women. Some women can't take it for medical reasons. And so these natural solutions are going to be great for people in those situations, but also as an adjunct to anybody on HRT. And finally, if you know me, you'll know that actually I mostly speak about healthy aging. I talk about how you can reprogram the cells to basically reset your biological age, turn back the biological clock. And, the reality is that menopause and the signs of aging are, closely intertwined. Menopause is happening around the sort of mid-40s or so, and there's an accelerated aging at a cellular level at about 44. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and it's hard to tease out what's what. And so all of the things that I talk about reprogramming your cells to be healthy and more efficient are relevant for people who are going through menopause. And I have a program, the Vibrant Age Revolution, where it's all about how do you reprogram yourselves and how do you create habits that allow you to turn back the clock. And I just realized that I really needed to have a module in there specifically about menopause, because there are some specific menopause solutions, which I'm going to talk about today. And I was talking to a friend recently, and she's 68 and she's a doctor of psychology and she's vibrant, and, you know, and I sort of was telling her about my program, and I was like, oh, you could turn back the clock. And she went, I don't want to turn back. I don't want to turn back and become younger. I just love where I am. I love my age. I love all of the things in front of me, my life in front of me. And I realized that that was me too. I'm 66 and I love my life. I love living my life. I'm full of energy. I'm full of hopes and dreams. And turning back the clock isn't as much as going backwards. It's about adding additional years. So I'm just excited that I've added additional years at this end, so that because I've got so many dreams and hopes and plans and things to do. And yeah, I'm excited for it. And I realized when I was thinking about this, that actually what I think I am able to do is to help women like the women in that conversation at the beginning of today's talk, who are feeling like, ugh, and maybe like, oh, it's all downhill from here. You know, this is the end or whatever. I want to help people in that place learn to fall in love with getting older. And getting older is not the same as aging. Getting older is inevitable, but it's not something to be feared. Let's get in love with it, because it's actually get through menopause, and it's great. You know, it's great over here. And I just did want to say that. So I used to say, up until quite recently, people say to me, oh, how is your menopause? And I go, oh, it was fine. It was fine. And in a way, I almost felt embarrassed about, this is the first time I've spoken about it in a forum like this. And I felt almost a little bit embarrassed, as if my menopause wasn't bad enough to be able to speak about it. I mean, it's not a competition, but like, it's how I felt, which was pretty crazy, really, because everybody's experience is relevant. And, you know, my experience might be exactly, relaying that might be exactly what somebody else needs to hear. So I am going to talk about it. And actually, although I would say, oh, it was fine, it actually wasn't. That's not exactly how it was. Just before I was 48, my stepson was killed in a motorbike accident. He was 24, and it turned my whole life upside down. My home life, you know, I was living in a very sad and it was seemingly hopeless place. And then I was going to work and sort of putting on a brave face and pretending everything was all right, but it wasn't. It was like I was struggling to keep my head above water, and it felt like there was just one thing, then another thing, then another thing. It was like waves smashing against me, and I'm getting caught in the, you know, the swirl of the wave and trying to pull myself back up. And so when you're in that place, you're just aware of the sort of overwhelmingness of it. You're not necessarily able to go, oh, well, that's because of this, and this is menopause. And, you know, and undoubtedly some of those waves that were hitting me were related to menopause. And when I was 50, my period stopped. And my first thought was, oh, I'm pregnant. And I was excited. I really wanted a baby. I actually, in a little part of me, it was like a baby will save me. It'll bring joy back into my life. And I did the pregnancy test and it was negative. And I was like, oh, it's just too early. I've just done it too early. So excited. Wait 2 weeks, do it again, and it's still negative. And I'm like, hold it a second. This is menopause. My periods have stopped. And I was shocked, actually. But I don't know why, but I had some crazy idea. I don't know where I got it from. My periods have stopped when I was 55. And they didn't. They stopped when I was 50. And I remember actually saying, well, that's a nail in that coffin. Because it was like a death. It was a death of a dream. And then my body got a mind of its own. I mean, I remember saying to my GP, I just have to look at food and I put on weight, which for me was very unusual because I'd been the person who had struggled to, to maintain my weight. So it wasn't me. I didn't recognize that person. But the worst thing, and the thing that really, it was very deep pain for me, actually, the fact, because I haven't even really spoken about it much, and I've never spoken about it in a public forum, was vaginal dryness and what that brings, infections and painful sex. I was like, are you kidding me? It's like, and I just got to the stage, it's like, I am sick of just feeling like a victim. I'm sick of having, I called it aging, happening to me. I'm sick of it. And I decided to take control. And taking control meant that I had to start loving myself. And that was, I didn't even know how to do that at that stage. I had to learn it. So I had to start my personal, development, my self-healing journey. And I did. And I learned visualization and meditation, and I read books. I learned about reprogramming your cells to stay youthful. I learned that, you can actually do all of these things. And I gathered information, and I learned things. And some of the things that I was doing actually are really good specifically for menopause, but I didn't know that at the time. I was just like trial and erroring, let me try this, let me try that, until I got to a place I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I wish someone had given me a roadmap about how to get here. And I was like, I can make a roadmap, which is sort of where my Vibrant Age Revolution, course was born. But really, it's, I wish someone had told me it's going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today. So let me just share my screen again. Oh, where am I? Just come here. So today I'm going to talk about a few things. I'm going to talk about perception, how we think about menopause, the symptoms, because obviously they're the things that we're most aware of, the natural solutions. I'm going to, break the symptoms down, and then I'm going to give you some natural solutions for each type of symptom. And there's a lot of overlap in the treatment, so I'll try and reflect that, but hopefully it'll be clear when we get there. I'm going to do some breathing. I am a certified breath transformation specialist, I think they often call it. I mean, I love breath work. It is so accessible to us. Literally, you have to go, to get some benefit. I mean, it's going to be more than that. But I'm going to talk to you about breathing and menopause. And not only going to talk to you, I'm going to give a short practice so you can feel it. I will talk to you about what's next if anyone wants to work with me and know how to do that. And at the end is going to be questions and answers. So if you save them up, you will get the opportunity for questions and answers at the end. So let's get started. Don't worry about this diagram in terms of trying to read it. It's really here to demonstrate that the body is full of feedback loops. The body is amazing. We have trillions of cells, and each cell has got on average 1 billion reactions per second. There's so much going on. We're building stuff, we're breaking it down. There's recycling, there's waste disposal, there's surveillance, maintenance and repair. There's energy production, there's maintenance of balance, we call it homeostasis. And all the time the cells are communicating and coordinating with each other. It's amazing. And within all of that, we have certain mechanisms that are there just to keep ourselves healthy and useful. And we have the homeostatic mechanisms, the balance mechanisms that often work in feedback loops. And this is a very simplified, graphic of the feedback loop. But for the balance to occur, it's like the body's got to recalibrate. We've dropped our hormones. We're dropping the levels of our hormones, particularly our estrogen, and the body's got to recalibrate. And the body can do it. It knows what to do. I mean, it's done it before. You know, when you had a sudden rise of your hormones in puberty, the body had to recalibrate, but it did it. It doesn't happen overnight, but the body can do it. But just like, you know, when I'm talking about healthy aging and maintaining your cellular rejuvenation mechanisms, I'm always talking about there's one thing that turns everything off. Well, that same one thing that turns everything off for cellular rejuvenation turns the recalibration off, turns the balancing off. And that thing is stress. The stress response, your fight or flight response, because when you're in there, all your body is really concerned about, your biology is concerned about really, is keeping you alive. It's not interested in rebalancing and recalibrating. It's not interested in cellular rejuvenation. But here's the thing. Menopause is associated with higher stress levels. And why is that? Well, I'm going to come to this graphic here. We can see estrogen affects the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus is connected to the pituitary, and it's also connected to the adrenal gland, which isn't shown in this graphic. And that's the HPA axis, and it's very, very important. And the adrenal gland is where your cortisol and your adrenaline come from, your stress hormones. And so this effect of the lowering of estrogen on the HPA axis means that you have a more sensitive stress response, and you get increased cortisol. So just from the start, you've got a stress response just with that reduction. And cortisol, you've got to love it, causes belly fat, accumulation of fat around your belly. Oh, hello, thanks. So, you know, estrogen has an effect on the HPA axis, which means that you have a heightened stress response. And then as well as that, it has an effect on the amygdala. So the amygdala is like the little danger response center in the brain that sets off the stress response. It's a little bit like a smoke alarm. And just like a smoke alarm doesn't differentiate whether it's a fire in the house or you've burnt the toast, just goes off, so does the amygdala. So it doesn't differentiate from the fact that, oh, it's just my hormones, or I'm being, you know, mauled by a mountain lion. It doesn't, the same stress response goes off. Now, just imagine that the amygdala gets more sensitive as the hormones change. So imagine your smoke alarm being more sensitive and going off not only when you burnt the toast, when you boiled the kettle, when the sunshine came in. It was going off all the time. It would feel like a nightmare. And that's sort of what's happening in the body in a little way in terms of stress. You're much easier to find stress, and then you've got this heightened response. And then, of course, you've got these feelings of stress, you know, all of the feelings that it causes, the sort of the heart rate going faster, and, you know, you feeling anxious. And now, of course, you start to go, oh, I'm really stressed out because I've got these things. And it's a vicious cycle. And all the time, this vicious cycle is meaning that your balance recalibration is off. Just imagine you had a really complex job to do, a really complex job of fixing something. It was really, really, you know, tricky, and you keep getting interrupted. So you have to literally almost start again every time, and then you get interrupted again, and you get interrupted, and you get interrupted. So understanding that, I hope, will just remind you that calming your nervous system is a key part of, you know, navigating the challenge. You know, menopause, it's a challenge. I'm not arguing that, but you don't have to be, you know, overboard trying to keep your head above the waves. You could be on the boat navigating the tricky waters, and if you know which way, or if you go a bit this way, it's not quite so rough, and if you come back out here, you catch the wind, or whatever. If you had a little bit of a roadmap, and if you knew that I've just got to keep away from the stress, every time that sort of the stress things come, I'm moving away out of that you would actually navigate the whole menopause much more easily. So that being said, hopefully this is making sense. You know, let me know in the chat that you can understand this and that it's clear. So let's come to perception. The mind is powerful, so powerful. Do you know that a study from Yale University, they found that women in their 50s, or people actually in their 50s, who had a positive perception of aging, added 7.5 years to their life. Just the change in mindset can add years to your life. And I hope at the end of this that you'll have a more positive perception of aging and, wow, I would have added years to your life. And I'm not saying that to sort of brag, but you're welcome. I'm really saying it just to give you, the enormity of that, the power of the mind. It is so powerful. And we take on stories, particularly as childhood, we take on stories of the people around you, around us, and they're literally programmed into ourselves. And I wonder what family stories you heard when you were young. What was your mother, your grandmother, your aunts? What were their stories about menopause? Because they have influenced you and they've influenced your perception. I am very fortunate. I'm very lucky. My mother, I never saw her sick. Never growing up. I never ever saw her sick. I never saw her say, I've got a headache, I've got to lie down. Never. And she had a busy household. My mother had 10 children. And my mother's like a superwoman, really. She was and is amazing. And when I was going through menopause, I did ask her, I said, well, Mum, what was it like for you? And she went, oh, my period story, I don't know what all the fuss was about. I mean, that was her way of dealing with it. And maybe that's why I was like, oh, mine was fine. But it's really important to remember that your experience may be being influenced by people that aren't you, and maybe being influenced by stories that you heard when you were young. And it's just really important to know that that's programmed into the nervous system, but we can rewire the nervous system. So that's a good thing. Secondly, cultural issues. In cultures where age, say for example, Japan, menopause is a change of season. That's how it's looked at. And women, older women are revered and valued in that society. And they have much less menopause symptoms than Western cultures. And in Western cultures, we often, it's very medicalized for a start. And we use words like ovarian failure, fertility termination. We use these words that are very like, they've got quite a negative context. We're not like, we don't say, we have seasons and we go through the seasons. In winter, we don't go death of the flowers. We just go, oh, it's winter, but we know that spring will come. It's a season. But we don't say that in our culture. And you might go, well, it might be different in Japan. They might have lower symptoms for different reasons. And I understand that point of view. But there have been prospective studies, where they've followed women from way before they get menopause, and they've looked at their attitudes and then followed to see what their symptoms were like. And the women who have attitudes that are more positive about menopause have less symptoms. So finally, it comes to our stories. So I mentioned my story at the beginning. It was a bit of a story, and I felt embarrassed about speaking it because it wasn't the worst story I'd ever heard. I mean, it's crazy that I was saying that. It wasn't the worst story that I'd ever heard. But I'm having thought about it today, I'm changing my story. My story is going to be something like this. It's going to be like, yeah, it's a challenge, but you can get through it. There are ways that you can make getting through it easier. And at the other side, it's amazing. You're going to love it. Life, you can, if you do things to keep yourselves healthy, you can be full of vitality and you can feel so free. And yes, it felt a little bit like a death in some ways as I was going through menopause, but something miraculous happened. It was as if I was reborn and I found myself. And I really feel so happy to have found myself. I love being me, and you'll love being you. And menopause is a transition, but it's not a life sentence. That's my story from now on. I'm telling that story, and I hope that that story lands with somebody and makes them have an easier menopause. And let's all rewrite our stories. You know, let's rewrite so many stories that we have a library of these positive stories about menopause. And maybe that perception, that will change perception of, you know, our daughters, our granddaughters, our nieces, our great-great-nieces, so that they have an easier time. That would be my hope anyway. So that's perception. Let's come to symptoms. So I wonder if anybody wants to write any symptoms down in the chat. Let's just see. Anybody's interested in adding to the things. I've already mentioned vaginal dryness. I know someone's going to say hot flashes. I say hot flushes. That's what we say in New Zealand, but hot flushes, you know, potato, or whatever they say, tomato. It's all one and the same. So let's have a little look and see how many of these we got. So I mentioned vaginal dryness, I mentioned infections, and dyspareunia is just a fancy way of saying painful sex. Hot flushes, sleep issues, you know, night sweats, not sleeping, weight gain, particularly weight around the middle, that's thanks to cortisol. Weight around the middle, you know, muscle aches, you could put in there. And then you've got fatigue, anxiety, irritability, and mood swings. And you can sort of see I've color-coded them, and I've color-coded them because I'm going to talk about the solutions in the different areas. So we're going to start the solutions for genitourinary. And, you know, simple things are simple, but sometimes, you know, when you're in something, you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And you're looking way beyond for some big solution, and you fail to sort of see the little steps that you could take to get there. And lubrication, you know, you've got dryness, lubricate in water-based lubricants, oil-based like coconut oil, whatever, there are options. And there are topical estrogens as well that you put in the vagina. So it could be a cream or tablets, or there can be a ring that, you know, a DHEA ring, which is sort of, it's like the precursor to other, you know, hormones like estrogen, that sort of just tell the vagina, actually, it's all okay, because low estrogen causes thinning of the vagina and dryness. And both of those things, you know, can be problematic, but some topical estrogen in there can keep everything not dying, if you like, or not atrophying, because it doesn't die, it's still there. It just becomes dry and thinner. And then finally, Purularia mirifica, which is a herb, and it's from a plant in Thailand. And you can have it in supplement form, or you can have it in topical form to apply to your, you know, genital area. And it has been found in studies to help with vaginal dryness, to reduce the atrophy. It can help with night sweats, and it can also help with sleep. So it can help with all three of the symptom areas. So that's pretty good. We go to the somatic symptoms. So these are your night sweats, your hot flushes, your weight gain, all of the muscle aches, all of those things. Excuse me. And yoga has been shown to be helpful. So you might, oh, I don't do yoga. Well, in a study of women who'd never done yoga before, 12 weeks of yoga reduced their menopausal symptoms, improved their quality of health, of life, and kept their cortisol stable. So it didn't drop the cortisol, but it didn't, in the control group, the other group who didn't do yoga, their cortisol went up. So yoga kept the cortisol stable. So yoga is something that will help you. I'm not going to go into everything. I'm going to give you 3 solutions in each of these. So, but yoga is really helpful. Melatonin. So a lot of people are having difficulty sleeping. So melatonin is our natural hormone that brings on sleep. And yes, you can take supplements of melatonin, but what I want to talk to you about is something else. If you have early morning sunshine, if you expose your body and your eyes to early morning sunshine, so going and watching a sunrise, what happens is the body, that sun stimulates serotonin in our body. Serotonin is a feel-good hormone. That's why we've got the psychological benefits there. And serotonin, when it gets dark, is converted to melatonin. So they're very closely related. The one becomes the other. So boosting your serotonin with sunshine in the morning means there's more melatonin there's more to convert to melatonin later in the evening, so you get a better sleep. It's very natural. And, you know, sitting and having a sunrise is pretty special as well. And finally, soy. So soy is a phytoestrogen. So phytoestrogens are compounds, natural compounds that can mimic estrogen, and they're adaptogens. So when they're in the body, if the natural estrogen, your body's estrogens are low, phytoestrogens sort of sit on the receptors and say, hey, we're here. And the body thinks, oh no, my estrogen isn't low. And equally, if the estrogen's very high, adaptogens say, oh no, we're not going to have the effect of high estrogen. So they're sort of, they're adaptogens, phytoestrogens, they help symptoms. That's what you really want to know, don't you? So half a cup of soy over 12 weeks added to the diet compared to people who didn't have that in their diet. After, you know, this period of increased soy reduced hot flushes by 84% in those who were saying they had moderate to severe hot flushes, 84%. And at the end of the 12 weeks, 59% of people who'd complained of moderate or severe hot flushes didn't have them anymore. Soy. So if you don't have it in your diet now, I would suggest thinking about it if you've got those symptoms. And it also helps, so it's got the green dot there, that's because it also helps vaginal dryness. Psychological issues. So this is a lot of stress, the stress things. Remember, I said it's so important to manage your stress. So psychological issues, walking. So walking just 10 minutes a day can improve your mood. So that's why we've got this here, can improve your mood. But a study in Melbourne showed that, you know, looking at menopausal women in symptomatology, found that women who walked regularly had a 49% reduction in symptoms like hot flushes, which is why we've got the light symptom relief dot. So you can reduce your hot flushes with walking as well as improving your mood. I've got vitamin D here, and the research around vitamin D and menopause could seem confusing, but what isn't confusing about it is that 70% of postmenopausal women have vitamin D levels in the suboptimal levels. So we're not talking about the levels where you get rickets, but the blood test levels that they often do at the GP are they're normal, but they're not necessarily optimal. Optimal is a little bit higher. And my GP recognized that, and she put me on vitamin D. But vitamin D is so important. It's important in all of those, whatever it is, whatever trillions times billions is, reactions that are going on. It is so important. It's important for bone health, cardiovascular health, mental health. So optimizing your vitamin D is a very key thing. And, you know, being out in the sun is going to be helpful, but also you might take a vitamin D supplement like I did. And then finally, mindfulness meditation. So mindfulness meditation has been, you know, is great for mood, it's great for stress relief, it's great for reversing resetting your nervous system out of the stress response. But it's also been found to reduce hot flushes and improve sleep. So it's also got some somatic effects. So I don't know if there's something there that has been useful to you. This is not a comprehensive overview of everything in the that's possible for natural solutions for menopause. I do cover more in my online course, Vibrant Age Revolution. But there is enough here, I'm sure, for you to take forward. And I hope what you've got is that actually there's a lot of things that we can be doing to make life easier. And as I mentioned, one of my favorite is breathing. So breathing, and particularly the breath let's go back one. Breathing can help hot flushes. So there's some study about paced breathing, and in the practice that I'm going to do, there is some paced breathing, reduces hot flushes. It improves sleep, it improves mood, it improves fatigue, it gives you more energy, and it improves irritability. So breathing can provide lots of benefits. And the breath that we're going to do, the breath practice we're going to do is called quantum breath. And it not only calms, but it rewires the nervous system. So remember, I talked to you about the fight or flight response. We need ways of getting out of that. And the way we get out of it is by activating our parasympathetic nervous system. And a very effective way of doing that is nice, deep diaphragmatic breaths, which activate the vagus nerve, which is the principal nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is sometimes called rest and digest. So we've got fight or flight, this is rest and digest. I like to call it rest, digest, and rejuvenate. So quantum breath does that, and it does it through different breathing rhythms that have all got slightly different effects and purposes, intention setting and sound. And this combination allows us to clear any blocks we have in our nervous system. So any programming we get from traumas, from beliefs, can cause little neurocircuits in the nervous system that create blocks to energy flow. So we clear those so we can connect with what it is that we want, and then we can create the energetic field for that. So I'm just going to get the music. So just get yourself comfortable. I'm just going to go over a couple of safety things. Please, this is something to be done in a quiet space, sitting or lying. If you're listening on the replay, please wait until you're at home in a quiet space. Start music. I'm going to start the music and I'm going to speak over it. So hopefully you can let me know if you can just put in the chat if you can't hear me or if the music's too loud, and equally if the music's too soft. So let me just finish talking about safety. Please don't do this if you're pregnant. It's very important that you listen to your body. I will be guiding you, but at any time, if it's too much, just go back to a natural breath. So, and if I'm asking you to hold your breath and it's too much, just start breathing naturally. So just relax your neck, relax your shoulders. I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, expanding your belly, and out through your mouth. In through your nose, expand your belly, and out through your mouth. And just keep this breathing. Just be aware. As you breathe in, your body expands, opens. And as you breathe out, it relaxes and lets go. Just be aware of your body, aware of any tension in your body. Breathe into that part. And as you breathe out, let the tension dissolve. Notice your thoughts. Just notice. Notice them as if they're clouds just passing by. Maybe it's things that I've said already, things you were thinking about yesterday or things about tomorrow. Just watch, observe, let them float past. If it's something important, you can come back to it later. Perfect. Notice your emotions. Just notice. Don't judge. And now I invite you to tap into something that you feel grateful for. Really feel the gratitude. Really feel it. And from this place of gratitude, we're going to connect with your intention. What is it that you want more of in your life? Is it freedom? Is it peace? Is it love? Love for yourself? Whatever it is, create a short I am statement. So I am, and then your intention. Maybe I am love, or I am calm, or I am freedom. Perfect. And on the next breath, breathe into your pelvic area. Expand it. Breathe it in air and expand it as if it's filling with light. And as you breathe out as if the energy is going down. Visualize, feel, or know there's a red laser beam going from your spine all the way down, down, down to the center of the earth. So as you're breathing out, the air is going down into the earth. The energy is going down into the earth. And breathe in again from the center of the earth into your pelvis, filling it with light. And as you breathe out, breathing down, just squeeze your pelvic floor slightly as if you're stopping yourself peeing, just a little bit as the energy goes down to the earth. And just keep breathing in this way. And remember that this area of your body is your creative center. And the way you create may change with menopause, but your creativity is always there. We can reignite our creativity, and we're reigniting it by expanding our energy in our pelvic region right now. And now visualize, feel, or just know there's a golden beam of light going from the top of your head all the way to the sun and the stars. And on the next breath in, breathe in from the sun and the stars, and down this beam and through the top of your head, down and through your throat and into your heart, and fill your heart. And then breathe out from your heart, down through your pelvis, down, 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 down into the center of the earth. Breathing back from the center of the earth into your heart, feeling the support and protection of the earth. And breathe up into the universe, to the stars. Your unique soul stars up there somewhere. Connect with that. And as you breathe in, feel the guidance and inspiration. So just keep breathing, clearing your energetic channel, helping clear any blocks to feeling amazing. Any blocks to what you actually want, whatever your intention is, remember it now. This is how we create the energetic field for your intention. We remember it. We couple that with feeling grateful for it. And we clear our energetic channel. Perfect. So just come back to natural breathing, and on the next breath out, I want you to allow a sound to come. So, so it might be a loud sigh like that, or it can be any sound, whatever wants to come. This is a very important part of the practice. It's a very important part of the practice, using your voice, using sound, clearing any blocks. So keep going, keep making the sound, keep going. And just as an additional thing, as you're breathing out, pull your belly button in towards your spine. So as you're breathing out, you're making a sound and you're pulling your belly button in. And maybe go a little bit faster. Find a rhythm that works for you. Maybe it's faster, maybe it's slower. Find a rhythm and keep going. Keep going. And it's okay if this feels a little uncomfortable. We're creating change, and change occurs when we're outside our comfort zone. So keep going. Keep going. We're breaking down old patterns, breaking down old beliefs, clearing blocks in our nervous system, clearing blocks to our expression. Times that we said yes when we meant no, or no when we meant yes. We're opening up our voice. Keep going. Keep going. You're doing great. Keep going. Keep going. And I'm going to keep the same rate of breathing, and I'm going to give you a 7-second countdown. So 7, 6, 5, 4, slow down, 3, slow down, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold, just hold briefly, feel really expanded, and now let the air gently release out through your mouth, very gently. And at the end of this exhale, you're going to hold. Don't breathe in, just hold on the out breath. Drop your chin. Remember your intention, I am. And just enjoy the space that you've created, the space for your cells to do what they need to do. Just enjoy it. And when you get the first urge to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, and just come back to a natural breath. But maybe you can hold a little bit longer. If you can, perfect. Perfect. Remember your intention, I am. Perfectly safe, your body's got enough oxygen. Now take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Hold it, hold it. Remember your intention. Relax your neck, relax your jaw. Hold, floating like a balloon. Expanded, created all this space. What are you allowing in? More of what you want, more calm, more peace, more vitality, more freedom. And when you're ready, just breathe out. Breathe in again through your nose. Hold it, expand, sip it in through your mouth. Hold, hold, expand. Feel your intention, remember your intention. Multiply that feeling by 2, by 3, by 5, by 10. Really expand into your intention, and then just breathe out. And last one, breathe in through your nose. Hold it. Sip it in through your mouth. Hold. Open and receptive, ready to receive. And just breathe out. And come back to a natural breath, just in through your nose, soft and gentle, and out through your mouth. In through your nose, and out through your mouth, and notice what's different. Remember your intention. It is done. It is done. The time now for this intention to integrate into every cell of your body. This is the natural state that you're in, and you can come back to it at any time. This is a state when your body is doing all the things it needs to recalibrate, where you're having cellular rejuvenation. And I invite you to imagine that you're sitting on a beach in a circle, and in the middle of the circle there's a campfire. And everyone who is listening to this recording, or either live or on replay, no times, no space, is in the circle. And connect your heart with the fire in the center, and everyone's heart is connected, and so everyone is connected through this fire. And this fire is an amplifier of your intention. So when you breathe in your intention, and it's amplified, and you breathe it into your heart, and your heart expands. And when you breathe out, your intention is spread into the space all around, and it fires up the fire even more. So the next breath in, your intention's amplified even more. And all the positive intentions of all of the people in the circle are being transmitted to everyone, even if you don't know that you might need that intention. You get the benefit of this beautiful group energy. And on the next breath out, just breathe out gratitude to everyone in the circle, and then just come back into your own space and breathe gently in and out, remembering your intention. It is done. It is done. It is done. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So, please feel free to share how that was. And I'm also curious what you've taken away from today. What's the thing that has, been your biggest takeaway? A study from Harvard School of Public Health showed that women in their 50s who added 4 to 5 healthy habits to their life increased their lifespan by 10 years, 10 disease-free years. So imagine yourself in 10 years, waking up, feeling refreshed and excited for your day, feeling that you have the energy to do the things that you love with the people that you love, feeling a sense of freedom because you're living life on your terms, and you look and act and feel how you choose, not dictated to because of the age that you are, and you feel confident that you're the best version of you. You love being you. You've fallen in love with aging, and all because you added some healthy habits to your life. And now you've literally put youthful aging on autopilot. But habits don't happen overnight. They don't happen at all, though, if you don't start. And I have opened up some vitality activation sessions, free sessions with me in my calendar. So basically it's a brief call with me, and I want to make it very clear this is not a call to discuss menopause symptoms or options for menopause. It's really to think about your vitality and reprogram your cells. And it's really together we'll figure out what your biggest challenges are and what a mini plan to get where you need to go, and really whether or not it would be helpful for us to work together more. So that's what the calls are about. And if you're interested, there's a link in the chat, or you can scan that QR code that's currently on the screen. And I said that we would have questions and answers. So please put questions and answers in the comments. I'm going to answer one that has come through, which I think a lot of people have asked me. They said, well, what about evidence-based? Does that mean everything, we have to just look for things where there's statistical, it says it's statistically significant, and what does that even mean? Well, actually, no, you don't have to. So the way research is, researchers are always looking for statistical significance because it means that there's less likely to be bias in their results, so their results are more likely to be true. But just because something has statistical significance doesn't mean that it's clinically significant. It doesn't mean that it's going to matter to you. And the reverse is true as well. Just because something isn't statistically significant doesn't mean that it's not going to be clinically significant. So that's probably where I have some expertise, is being able to look at the results and see actually what's real here. And I'm going to give you an analogy from babies, actually. There's a condition that babies have that's sometimes called infantile colic. That's how people mostly know it. And it's a period, it's a transitional period that babies go through. And there are not many treatments that have got statistical significance for treating it. However, there are many studies of things that show promise. 60% of babies who had this had an effect. As people might say, oh yes, but it wasn't statistically significant, so it might have been placebo effect. So what? If it's something that hasn't cost you a lot of money and it's safe, so what if it's the placebo effect if you've got benefits? So I think it's really important to know that you can try things. You can try things. Don't spend a lot of money on stuff that isn't very clearly proven. But reading, just reading papers isn't all just about looking at their bottom line. It's about being able to understand what their bottom line is saying and how you could apply it or not to yourself. So I think that's actually the last. There's no other questions right now. So I'm just going to leave you today with these final statements. Menopause is a transition, not a life sentence. You get to write your story. And let's fall in love with getting older. Because really, it's fantastic on this side, and I can't wait for you to get here and feel the same. Have a wonderful day.